Do we need to think about over-regulation, under-regulation? What is the private sector role in data governance? Your name, sir, and your question.
Hello, my name is Sello Rasebotsa from Mokhalai Foundation, an NPO that is all about upgrading and upskilling our community when coming to 4IR, digital, technological, and changes that we are faced with. So what I want to contribute is not necessarily a question, but adding on what the previous speaker just elaborated to us. So, but firstly, I would like to remind our government that most of the things that we're talking now here, it's like they were dealt with in the previous governments or AU. For example, in Joburg in 2009, we had Oliver Tambo declaration, which was all about how can we come with a domain, the domain that will cater the African continent. And then from there on, in 2010, we had heads of states from all African countries in Abuja. And then we had the Abuja, Nigeria Abuja Declaration. And then there were resolution and recommendation. And then until 2012, where we had Commissioner Ibrahim of AU Commissioner, after they had, as part of the Abuja resolution, they decided that they must come up with African.Africa, you see. So now all those things were dealt with. We had the reports, but it's challenging because mostly when we go to our government, like me, when I used to do, it's stressing because it shows you, even this report, we have them, our government official or municipal workers, even our academic teacher institution, they don't go through these things, you see. So now it's like we're busy repeating same thing. We talk about this domain range, forgetting that it's an US-led or patent right.
I'm going to stop you. I get your point that one, resolutions have been made, but not being implemented. And then we look outside instead of looking internally as Africa in terms of governance. I'll come back to you. I just want to, so that we've got and them to really get confused. All right, thanks. I'll thank you for that response. They said I must start with students. One hand, you are this, I'm not sure if you are raising or not. Do you have a question? No, you don't. And the one online?
It's me again. So now I want to know, currently there is a war that's going on between .ZA and some of these major companies, because ZA have just came up with this new regulation whereby if you want to open a domain, you must issue your ID. And then at the same time, there's these private companies like your Worldwide Works who are challenging this new regulation that you must pop out your ID. And then their reasons is that by producing your ID, you will be giving government the power to know every details about us. So meaning now it's Poppy versus the ZA. Since the ZA, they can't issue you a website without taking your information, because you may end up opening a child porno website. So no one will be able to trace you because they don't have your ID. So that's the new regulation that they are proposing. But at the same time, others are complaining that by giving this out our identity, we will be contravening the POPI. So that's why I'm saying, trying to show that sometimes these things are happening currently. And then if we don't look at them, it's like we are wasting our time. And then lastly, 2 days ago, in retaliating to Russia's blocking oil to Europe, USA have announced that they are banning semiconductors. Any country that is producing microchip, for those who don't know, for a microchip, it's a patent under USA, but mostly the microchips are being produced by Taiwan. So now USA have already announced that they are hitting China with this semiconductor sanction. And whoever is in this business must not sell or work with China, meaning again with China. So as I'm speaking now, China economy have just dropped from yesterday. Go and check it. So I'm trying to show this geopolitical world. If we talk, we must focus on those things before coming with these laws. And then lastly, the DNA domain name and this generic top-level domain, they are American patent right. Well, it's American property.
Thank you very much. So you've touched on the .za new rule that when you register for a website, your ID, so that people don't create pornographic website, 911 website, and all those things. Do you think it's a bad idea?
Oh, to me, it's a good one. Yes.
Do we all agree that it's a good one? Yes. Thank you. So I'll allow the member from ZADNA to respond to contravening POPI policy. Apologies.
I think the first point, which talks to the local context when it talk about governance, not government, governance of tech, of data, of everything, it's coherence. And I think the brother up there has just touched on it. Coherence, institutional alignment in South Africa is a big problem. And I'm talking from someone who's been a regulator, who's also now in the private sector. Coherence and alignment is very important, and it makes it difficult for us to manage that oil that we're talking about. Now, looking to the future, as Africa, we have an advantage. And I think we need to optimize on that advantage of developing a new regulatory framework for data and for the tech space, because it's an evolving space, this one. It's fairly new. It's evolving every day. So your EUs are setting the precedent. But how are we developing our own Africa precedent? And most of the time, if you engage with good corporate citizens, because in any environment, you'll have good and bad corporate citizens. If you engage with good corporate citizens and governments and NGOs, there is agreement on what the problem is when it comes to data. What are the protections that we need to put in place? The biggest challenge is how do we ensure that we enforce that protection? And that means how we develop regulations needs to be significantly different. It cannot be one party coming and saying, this is the rule, because you also don't understand how that platform operates, how it's structured, how it's configured. So how do we cooperate? When I was in the regulator, I used to talk about co-regulation. Now, the regulation, when we're talking about the oil moving in the future, it's about how do we develop rules together? And that needs some alignment in how we are configured. and how we engage between private sector and government. The mistrust that is there right now, I think we need to find a way to see how we can close that gap.
I belong to several organizations that it's a private sector organized entity. So what I can tell you is that the private sector is well organized. They know what they want. The challenge is on the other side, but that's my view. We've got two panelists. Your closing remark on the all comments and questions that we raised, and that can you talk about the POPIA and the new regulations? Thank you. Yeah.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Indeed, there are regulations being proposed to ask for identity documents details for both individuals and organization. Of course, there's a lot of views around the country and those that are involved within the space. However, this comes from a premise that we need to identify the people that are utilizing our space, simply because of the danger that we would be exposed to, and we are exposing those that interact them through the digital space. What we also have identified, we find it quite difficult when law enforcement engages us to ask, who is this person or who is this entity? We really cannot assist them to the fullest. Also, in terms of our response time, we tend to become a little bit limited. So hence we have these regulations. Over and above that, we need to ensure for your normal South African citizens, as they engage within the digital space, they feel secured. And this is one way we are adding to it. Now, there is this contention that it contravenes POPI. I would like to dispel that. Already, as you are registering a domain name, we are asking for your name, your surname, your banking details, your address, your email address. If I'm correct, under the classification of personal information under the POPI Act, it is clearly stated that anything that identifies an individual, be it a name, your address, your email address, it is POPI. So meaning already those that are within the value chain have adequate controls. So it's just a matter of adding one identifier. So it begs the question, what are those that might fled? Are they hiding? But I'll leave it at that, unless I'll be accused of other things. Thanks.
Looking at our time, and we are standing between you and the last session before lunch. So we don't want to be those bad people. I will truly end my presentation here. I think I had abused my panel members. They really gave their piece and their opinion. Thank you very much. May you please do it again when we invite you to our session. Please come and give your best the way you have done it. Ladies and gentlemen, we can conclude that there is an opportunity to govern better. There are laws there and there. We need a coherent approach to govern data and make sure that we include the private sector in that process. Thank you very much and enjoy your day. Goodbye.
You, to regulate or not to regulate, to govern or not to govern. Yeah, that was quite a dialogue. Thank you so much to my panelists and to Mevero for facilitating such a robust dialogue. You think we don't know, and do we know? We are watching.